Welcome to Firearms of America, and today, as you guys can see, I have another pair of Downrange boots to review, and this is Downrange Downrange. Now, Downrange called these boots military tactical boots, but in all honesty, I think this is your basic hiking boot. Now, in the previous Downrange review that I have done, I think it was Downrange Lookout if I'm not mistaken, I have said that I have never had any kind of design flaws with Downrange boots or any kind of quality control issues, and I think I might have actually jinxed the Downrange brand because these boots are actually running small for the very first time. I reviewed probably a good 20-25 pairs of Downrange boots. Never had Downrange boots running small, but these actually do. So if you're in a rush, you don't have time to watch the whole review, make sure to get these boots in at least half a size bigger. Alright, let's get into it. As some of you guys already know, this review is specifically for my ultimate survival boots section. Basically, if this was the last pair of boots that you had in your house or you were wearing them and something really bad happened, war, natural disaster, and you had to wear these boots through miles and miles of different terrains, going through all of these different survival situations, climbing, hunting, fighting, do all of these things that are necessary to survive. Would this be a good boot to survive in? How do we make the judgment? We make the judgment based on 8 different criteria. Let's start with them. Criteria number 1, of course, the comfort level. And obviously, if you do get them in the right size, if you don't, forget the comfort. But if you do get them in the right size, I do like the comfort level overall. In order to test the comfort level, I do a test for all of my boots. It's a 5-mile walk without stopping and then a 3-mile run, again without stopping. Total 8 miles, wearing the boots, probably about 7 to 8 hours. Usually that's what it comes out to, through different terrains. And let me tell you guys, these boots are actually very comfortable. There are a few factors that contribute. Now, one of the factors that takes away from the comfort level is, of course, the weight. These boots do run a little bit on the heavier side. As you can see, they do have a lot of different protection features, which we will talk about later. But overall, the weight is 27.05. And if you watched any of my other reviews, I always say that whenever it comes to boots in general, footwear in general, if you are like me who likes more speed, more mobility, definitely look for something that is under 20 ounce. But because whenever it comes to shoe wear over 20 ounce, things get definitely heavier. It's harder to run, it's harder to walk for extended periods of time. For example, running with something like this, after about 1.5 miles, it was really hard to run, especially run properly, because whenever you get tired, you start running with a bad technique, putting stress on your ankles, on your knees. Definitely not good. So 27 ounce is well over 20 ounce. You will definitely feel that weight. Keep that in mind. But I do have one thing that I really like about these boots, about the comfort level. It's the inner sole, and Downrange seems to be getting it right with their inner soles. As you can see, this is a very basic Downrange inner sole. There's really nothing special. It has the breathability vent, and of course you can see here that it has some extra cushioning in the heel, and I do like that a lot. It is also shaped to kind of match the shape of your heel, so it definitely helps. But there is not the only thing that contributes to the comfort level. We also do have the toe box, and as you can see in this boot, if you get it in the right size, the toe box is actually fairly wide, so you don't have your foot all cramped up here in the toe box. Pretty good. Definitely helps with the comfort level. However, I do have a minor complaint regarding the toe box here, is that there is no padding on the top of the toe box from the inside. Basically, it goes straight into this material here, which is soft. However, here right above the toe you do have this very hard rubber, and you can definitely feel it with your toes. So if you're getting this boot, I definitely recommend getting some thicker socks and wearing them with this boot so that you do have that cushioning. All right, so overall on the comfort level, if you do get them in the right size, I would give this boot a very solid 7 out of 10. Overall, pretty good. The bottom sole is flexible enough to allow you to run properly while you're still not tired from the extra weight. The inner sole is good. So, 7 out of 10, I think it is fair. Let's move on to the criterion number 2, which is proofing and protection. And you probably already noticed this label right here, which says Gore Tex. Very fancy. Of course, waterproofing. If you guys are familiar with Gore Tex, what it is, definitely top of the line waterproofing system. Basically, it's a special membrane that is implemented into the fabric of the boot, which allows still for the breathability, but at the same time keeps your boot waterproof. Now, to be fair to regular waterproofing that is a lot of times implemented, so far I never had any kind of problems with regular waterproofing. In this case specifically, the Downrange Dry, which is the basic waterproofing technology that Downrange have their own, not Gore Tex, it's usually cheaper. So if this boot is a little bit on an expensive side for you, that's because of the Gore Tex. Usually whenever there is Gore Tex involved with a boot, they do run on the more expensive side. Okay, let's move on to the protection. So protection, you probably already noticed we do have some extra protection here on the toe, which I do like a lot. There aren't a lot of boots, especially hiking boots, which again Downrange decided for some reason that this is military tactical boot. Honestly, to me this is more of a hiking boot. And here, as you can see, we do have this nice piece of rubber which has a very decent amount of coverage, and it is actually a very hard rubber. Now, it's not a composite toe, it's not a steel toe, don't get confused. Don't expect it to protect you from a hammer falling on your toe, which this will actually can handle a smaller hammer without any problems. But something bigger, something heavier, you will feel the impact. However, compared to if it didn't have this, of course, would have been a big difference. Now, with the ankles, there isn't really much going on anywhere here. There's, of course, this full grain leather that is implemented in some parts of the boot, and we do have this nylon going. So not much. There is a little bit of padding, but it's more for the comfort and not really for the protection. And we do have a nice, very nice coverage, good piece of rubber here on the back to protect from the impact on the heel. Pretty good. Okay, so down with the proofing and protection, let's move on to the criteria number 3, which is the quality and design features. Now, whenever it comes to the quality, Downrange, most of the times, they are absolutely 100% spot on with the quality. You take out the boots out of the box and you can definitely tell that this boot is built just perfect. However, one thing again that I'm going to mention here, because they run a little bit on the smaller side, that raises the question for me. Downrange, did you guys soften on the quality control? Or is it just happen? Now keep in mind, if you're watching this video, 6 months after upload, they might have already fixed the problem, changed the sizes, which I have seen actually manufacturers do that. They release the boots and then they get reviews, they get feedback about the boots running small or big, and then they adjust the sizes. So it might be fixed. Keep that in mind. Don't get my words for it. Get yourself maybe a right size if you're watching it 6 months from now, but be prepared to change them, to exchange them for a bigger size. Okay, so done with the quality. Let's move on to the features, design features. And here usually I talk about the lacing system. As you can see here, we have plenty of lace. I mean, seriously, these laces are so long, you can use them as a rope. No, don't use them as a rope there. But you see how long they are. Now, to talk about the hardware, okay, I do like it. It's metal. It feels good, feels sturdy. However, I do have a few complaints about it. First of all, there is too much stuff going on. As you can see, we have regular rings here, and then we have just the strings going through the leather piece, basically. And what it does, whenever you have that going on, that difference, what it does, it creates an equal tension whenever you are tightening the boots, and it can really get in the way. It's not really a huge complaint, but it can definitely get in the way, especially if you're trying to put on the boots nice and fast. Now, whenever it comes to nice and fast, here, another thing that I wanted to mention that I'm not a big fan of is these flappy pieces. I just don't understand what was the point of these. Now, these hooks right here are perfect, but this, I just don't understand the purpose of it. And one of the things, again, that comes with putting the boots quickly, if you want to do that, right? So you have boots in this state, you're putting your foot in, and you're trying to tighten them quickly. You go over this hook right here, trying to go over this hook right here, but it is so in compared to this one, which it just goes over and catches on this one. Really, again, I am being way too picky, I know, but that's the reason why I'm doing the reviews. I want to make sure that you know exactly everything about the boot. And whenever it comes to the survival situation, which putting the boots on quickly in the survival situation is definitely one of the things that you will encounter. That can be quickly an annoying factor, especially when you're panicking and you need to leave your house fast. Keep that in mind. All right, done with this criterion. Let's move on to the next one. Criterion number 4, traction and stability. And here we talk about the outsole. Now, this outsole right here, as you can see, it's more on the flat side. There isn't really a lot of aggression going on here. There is a decent amount, and I do like the fact that the rubber here is actually very hard. This outer layer, which is from a popular Vibram Downrange boots, they use a lot of Vibram type outsole, and very hard rubber. Basically what it does is whenever you're running, you don't have any of these grooves bending and kind of throwing you off balance. This doesn't happen here. Pretty good. I do wish that there was a little bit of more aggression here, just to kind of give you a better grip on things. Now, the surfaces that I test my boots on, I start with older asphalt, newer tarmac, then I do have sand, dry sand, wet sand, dry grass, wet grass, rocky road, trail surface, and then of course I test them on the flat surfaces like marble and tile as well. Overall, they do perform on all of them. A little bit slippery on the wet grass just because there isn't much of aggression going on, but still pretty good. Now, if you guys do have experience on snow and ice, let everybody know in the comments. It will be very helpful. I haven't personally tested them on neither, so it would be definitely very, very helpful. But overall, I do like the outsole. I think overall it has a very good balance whenever it comes to all of these different terrains. And of course, you probably already noticed these ridges here, which not a lot of boots for some reason implement, but these do actually help a lot whenever it comes to climbing stuff. Climbing a rope, climbing a tree, definitely helpful. All right, so done with the outsole. Let's move on to the criterion number 5 really quickly, the temperature. Now, whenever it comes to the temperature, I've tested them in Florida, running in the 90-95 degrees heat, so it was pretty hot. But Gore Tex, pretty good, pretty breathable, so definitely no problems, definitely no overheating. Would I recommend these boots as winter boots? Probably not. They are waterproof, so they should be fine in the snow. But because there isn't much of aggression on the bottom sole, I wouldn't really recommend them as your main winter boot. Again, you can get away probably with the temperatures as well. Even though there is no insulation here, there is padding, but it's not really an insulation. However, with some insulated socks, you might actually be pretty good with this boot. But keep that in mind. Now, let's move on to the criterion number 6 really quickly. Again, the sizing. I have already mentioned that they do run a little bit smaller. I recommend getting a half a size bigger. And whenever it comes to sizing in the boots, I always say get yourself half a size bigger boot than your regular shoe size. So if you're wearing, like myself, let's say 9.5, your sneakers, your dress shoes, whatever, get yourself a 10 a boot. And because these run a bit smaller, I actually had to get them in 10.5 to have a little bit of that extra space, which actually does help a lot whenever you're, especially on the decline. But in hiking situations, that half a extra size, you're gonna thank me. All right, done with that. Let's move on to the criteria number 7, which is the balance of application. Basically, if this really was your ultimate survival boot, would this be a good boot to survive in? Would you be able to survive in? I think it is a pretty good option. I mean, after all, you do have a lot of different protection. You do have waterproofing. You do have a very well balanced outsole. Little things here and there, like a quality control with the size, like these little weird design features that I'm not a big fan of. But overall, I think it is pretty good. Another plus that I have to mention here is the looks. I think the looks of this boot are actually very acceptable, very subtle, something that you can wear, for the most part, pretty much anywhere you want. Well, maybe with the exception of wearing them here in Florida in the middle of a summer. Probably gonna get a few weird looks. But overall, they do look more or less everyday-ish. So I think it's a pretty good option. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And the very last criterion is the price. Another very important factor, criterion number 8, the price. The price is actually pretty bitey. It's pretty expensive. They're almost $230 currently on Amazon. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description below. As always, $230 now, that is serious. That is expensive. There's a lot of competition, a lot of absolutely amazing, some top of the line hiking boots that you can get in that price range. Absolutely amazing boots you can get in that price range. Also with Gore Tex. I mean, Gore Tex, yes, it definitely does add up to the price, but everything else, I don't know. I think it is a little bit too expensive for the boot. I don't think it's a fair price. It's a good boot, don't get me wrong. Overall, I do love it. If you get it in the right size, everything else, quality-wise, protection-wise, apart a few minor little design things here and there that I'm not a big fan of, overall, it's a very, very good boot. But is it really worth $230? That's where my main question comes in, because there's a lot of great boots in that price range. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what do you think about this boot? Would you consider it as a hiking boot, or would you consider it as tactical military boot as they are listed as on Amazon? Let me know. Would this be your ultimate survival boot? If you have any requests, as always, you can drop them in the comments below. I always look out for those. Every request I put on my to-do list, and if I come around these boots, I get them as priority. As always, thank you very much, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this was helpful. This was Firearms of America, and I'll see you guys in the next video.